Hey, it's Gabriele Battista, Homes into Reality. We're finally getting to the end of 2023. And what that means, it's one of our last Toronto real estate updates for the year. And I know, of course, you're going to miss me for the end of the year. You can be reassured that next year, you're going to get more of the same in 2024. But if you don't know what Toronto Real Estate by the Numbers is, it's a monthly real estate update series that we do every single month where we try to break down the Toronto real estate market trends, stats, numbers, and break it down to manageable chunk size pieces of information and relate it to being a first-time buyer in Toronto. I'm a Toronto real estate agent working with Homes into Reality, and the purpose behind that brand is really helping educating young Canadians, young professionals on getting into home ownership and educating the first-time buyer, because obviously it's not a very easy market to get in as a first-time buyer in Toronto. It's very expensive, so we want to provide as much value to the first-time buyers as possible and help make that process to buying your first home as simple as possible. So if you've not already subscribed, you can join the 64 of us and counting of Future Homeowners. Subscribe, like, comment what you want to see in 2024 as a future homeowner, as a first-time buyer in Toronto. And if you want more information about my services in Toronto, there's a link in the description with my phone number, my email, and then of course the link to book a call with me where you can touch base with myself and how I help first-time buyers achieve their future homeowner goals. Enough of me, let's get talking about the Toronto real estate market and what's been happening in November as the market stats are now out. We always start with the median price point to purchase different types of Toronto properties to start. And the reason why we pick median, we want to make sure that we're looking at a realistic price point for first-time buyers. So we don't want our numbers, our average numbers, for example, which get skewed by luxury properties that are several $1 million. We want to look at a realistic price point that a first-time buyer may pay when acquiring some of these properties. And we'll look over here, you see the prices for a detached home, we're looking at $1,250,000. For a semi-detached property, you're looking at $1,059,000. For a freehold townhouse, we're looking at $1,090,000. For a condo townhouse, we're looking at $796,000. And for a condo apartment, we're looking at $637,000. And those are the numbers, but what do they mean? We want to break down Toronto real estate numbers in more when it comes to trends and not just basic numbers. We'll look at your month-over-month numbers first. That's the most up-to-date number that we're going to be looking at because it's from, let's say, October to November. We'll see what prices are going on a month-to-month basis. We're looking at a 5.59% decrease in detached homes. You're looking at a 6.08% decrease in semi-detached homes. We're looking at an 11.38% decrease in your freehold townhouses. You're looking at a 4.74% increase in your condo towns. We're looking at a 2% decrease when it comes to condo apartments. Very quickly to look at those numbers. On a whole, prices have come down month over month when it comes to Toronto real estate prices because it is a little bit of a slower volume, a little bit quieter month, less buyer demand, a lot of listings out there. We have seen prices decrease. The one big decrease in freehold townhouses, 11.38%. That one I take with a grain of salt because last month we had a really huge jump up in prices for your freehold townhouses. So it just makes sense that they came down just as hard. If you look on a 2-month basis, they're relatively flat over those months. So I wouldn't look at an 11.38% decrease as the market falling beneath them. The same thing with condo townhouses. You see that they came up 4.74%. That's mostly because they came down so aggressively last month. They're just evening it out over a 2-month sample size. That's why when it comes to trends, I like to look on a longer scale of things versus a 1-month or 2-month window. And now moving on to year-over-year changes. What the year-over-year changes really show is the seasonal adjustment. So considering the spring markets are all very similar in price points, and let's say your fall markets are in similar demand levels. We want to compare those prices year over year to show what the real change is over 12 months of activity. With your detached homes, you're down just under 2%. For your semi-detached homes, you're down just over 3%. For your freehold towns, you're down just about 1%. For your condo towns, you're up 5.6%. And your condo apartments, you're down just under 2% as well. These numbers are a much better indicator to see how the market is reacting as a whole after kind of because November is relatively a slower volume month. It's good to see that with lower volumes where they compare on a year-over-year basis. And it tells a very similar story. They're all down anywhere between 1 to about 3%. And the only property that's up month over month is condo towns. And as I showed the graph earlier, that's because they really dropped down month over month from October. They're just making a bit of an adjustment. So overall, the sentiment looks at, prices are about 2% lower than they were this time last year. So now let's dive into why those prices are lower than they were this time last year. And the big number that we like to look at is your new listings and your active listings, mostly because that's our supply curve. That's the amount of properties on the market coming onto the market on a monthly basis, and it shows how many sellers are there out there to sell. So that's the seller side competition. If we look at new listings, we're up 17.5%, with new listings in November being 4,184 new listings, and those are the properties coming onto the market in November of 2023. And that is up, showing that there is a little bit more people motivated and needing to sell in November. This number on the month-over-month sense tends to be a little bit lower than your typical months. That's mostly because in November, very few people are thinking of selling. Most people are all going on holidays, preparing for Christmas or whatever holiday they celebrate. And it's a gloomier month. So people don't think of selling their home in these months unless they're a little bit more motivated and they have to. And the really big number that's now different is your active listings being up 41.9%. So 42% active listings are up. And these are the properties that are on the market no matter when they came on the market. So currently in November, these are the properties that are on the market. And that is for November, 6,998%. And that is it's over 2,000 more listings than we typically see. So you even see the graph come up over here. The amount of listings on the market compared to years past and past 2 years is significantly more. That's a lot to do with sold numbers, which we're going to get into. But with more supply out there, it shows that the reason why prices are down year over year is because there's much more inventory on the market. There's buyers are choosing from more listings, and not all of them are getting sold. So the properties that are selling for less. We'll look at the market as a whole shortly, but I want to get into your sold activity as well. And the change from November 2022 to November 2023 is 10.6% less listings are selling in comparing those 2 months. And they're also on the market for longer, 25 days instead of last year's 22 days on market. So overall, sales are slower. There's less demand out there. The sold activity is a decent metric for demand out there. That's, the people that are meeting the minds in the middle who can agree on price. Those are the only properties that are being tallied when it comes to our median price points. So if properties are not selling, they're not being shown on your median price points, but these properties are selling, and they're selling less than in years past. So now here's an interesting metric I want to discuss. Let's pull up the active listings right in front of my face here over here. You'll look that the active listings are starting to come down from October to November. So October was our peak in active listings, and now that they begin to come down, we ask ourselves, why are they coming down? And there are 2 reasons really behind this. Back to my face. The first reason being that new listings are coming down as well. So because the seasonal market, less people are listing their properties in November, as you see in this graph that comes up, we see a huge steep drop off in new listings from September to November, and then December is going to be even worse. So because less properties are coming onto the market, the active inventory is going to be a little lower because there's not as many properties to supplement new listings in the market. But the bigger reason why properties are coming off the market is not because they're selling, because as we see from our sold numbers, they're relatively low, these sold numbers. I mean, they're not huge. They're very minor, these sold numbers. A lot of sellers are taking their properties off the market. So instead of them getting the price, they can't meet the minds, they can't find a buyer, they decide to take their properties off the market and potentially, wait for another time for them to sell. And to explain this point a little bit better, I gotta get my favorite Durham real estate agent, Rob Marsiglio, who always had the stats and the numbers for me to use in videos and with my clients. He's showing a couple things. In the first 10 days in the GTA, here's what the numbers follow. There has been 1,859 new listings onto market, which sounds about normal. In those same 10 days, there's been 2,513 properties that have been terminated, suspended, or expired. So essentially, those properties are coming off the market because they have not sold, but they don't want to be on the market anymore. And then for sales, we're looking at 1,160 new listings, and which is significantly less than both new listings and terminated listings. So the information that we're getting from here is if there was no properties coming off the market by being terminated, expired, and suspended, technically what would happen then is our active inventory would be going up because there'd be more new listings than there are solds. But because there's been such a bulk of inventory coming off the market because they can't sell, they can't agree on price, they can't find a buyer, that's why active inventory is coming down. So usually the active inventory is a metric where, supply is coming down, it might get more competitive, But because a lot of these properties are coming off the market, I do have a different tone to what this may lead to in the spring. Most people putting their properties on the market in the fall market are motivated buyers for the most part. Obviously, it differs per situation. But if you think about it, if they're going to put the property on the market in the fall market, there's no reason why we can't expect these same properties, and in this case, for the first 10 days, 2,513 properties go on the market in the springtime, which could give a big boost to properties going on the market. And the reason why I mention this is there's two ways the market really can go going into 2024. Because there are talks, the interest rates are going to be coming down. There's a lot of sentiment out there that prices will be going up in the spring. And is that possible? I think it's possible. But I do think that because there's so many properties that likely will be going on the market, I would tame my expectation about prices being running away and going out of reach for first-time buyers. I'd be really cautious out there for anyone telling you that prices are going to get unreasonably expensive or out of, being priced out if you're currently in the market right now, because there are just so many properties coming off the market only for them to come back on the market. So I'm a bit skeptical. I think there's a couple ways that they can go, but what I would do is, the reason why I have a channel like this is I want to talk directly to first-time buyers and keep them up to date on the market on a month-to-month or a week-to-week basis. I track these numbers on a week-to-week basis. So if there's questions or concerns and you feel like you're, let's say, 3 months to 6 months out from making that first big purchase of your first home, I'd say get in touch now and make sure that and letting you know what's going on in the market on an active basis. I just put my newsletter out to all my first-time buyers, future homeowners. I do a monthly newsletter when it comes to giving you up-to-date information on the market. I talk about interest rates. I talk about prices. I talk about all that fun stuff. So I'm actively doing that type of stuff. And what I was telling them in that newsletter last week was I don't know exactly where the market's going to go, but indications like this are great insights that you may not get off of the typical news sources or some real estate agents because they just look at one sole number. But there's got to be a reason behind those numbers. So I encourage you, if you are interested in becoming a first-time buyer in the city of Toronto in 2024, this is the channel you want to be on. Subscribe to be a part of our 64 future homeowners and growing. I'm happy to get you educated on the process. I invite you to like, comment, and follow my Instagram, follow my newsletter, all that fun stuff. We want to get you into a home in 2024. We're happy to help. Enjoy the rest of your holiday season. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.